All right, guys, here we're going to talk about the Shannara Chronicles, Season 1, Episode 8. And I didn't hate this episode.
I didn't hate it.
I actually kind of liked it.
I liked a lot of stuff in it. But, like, some of, like, the writing, some of, like, the bad writing is bothering me.
Well, like, let me just jump into my least favorite thing.
Do it.
And this is completely writing-based.
You watched it. Do it.
I watched it. So,
no, you watched it.
Yeah, one of my favorite characters, which was the head of the Rovers.
Yeah,
he dies in this episode.
Cephalo.
Or at least we're led to believe he dies.
King Cephalo's Redemption is my alternate title for this episode.
So, I thought this was a terrible redemption moment.
Of course.
And they do this in everything. I'll hold them off. You guys go. And then they die while you're still in the room.
Yep.
And, like, you didn't actually hold them off at all. Holding them off would be if you kept your head down behind that crate and when they passed, you, like, shot them.
Yep.
Or, like, you know, like, every once in a while lifted the gun so they, like, didn't want to walk. Like,
Yep.
And he didn't do that. He quickly realized how guns work and, like, oh, there's limited amounts of bullets in this thing. And he dies.
There's so much, there's so much shit that's fine on the surface until you go, like, wait, what? And then you're like, no, like, why are these people, like, you just fired a gun next to someone for the first time ever, and they're in, like, their 20s, and they don't even know that guns exist. And they're like, let me try that. They're not like, what the fuck was that? Like, they should freak the fuck out. It's fucking
should,
crazy.
like, kick back and hit him in the face.
Yes,
like,
it should be this fucking crazy thing.
Yeah,
no one knows.
Like, the two people who picked up a gun for the first time, it's like, yep, I'm a wicked shot.
We're, like, good with guns, and guns are their thing now, because they're the gun
Even
people.
to, like, understand,
fucking crazy.
oh, I have to line up these two and this to be my shot, like, you just, like, it doesn't stand for reason to just know that.
And, like, yes, I want there to...
She cocked it, too.
He tells her to cock
Just to say him.
But how would
you not do it
How
each
would
time?
you know what that means? He's like, okay, pull back the hammer or something. I'd be like, this is like an alien magical artifact.
How would he know the word hammer? Like,
well, it's probably from talking to the people.
But, again,
probably found a Smith & Wesson manual.
Unless it was passed down from generation to generation, all the terms should be lost. The idea that they still work is ridiculous. These are 3,000-year-old guns.
3,000-year-old guns, and, like, you don't have Eugene making bullets.
They look pristine.
Yeah, they look
like they were
guns.
kept in oil or something.
So, like, I would have been okay with Ty, the, like, leader of the Amish country village or whatever the fuck, or, like, the really cool, overtones of that movie with the dragons and Matthew McConaughey.
Oh,
and
Reign of Fire.
Reign of Fire, and you were thinking of Dragonheart, I believe, with the.
Yep. What did I say? Braveheart.
Braveheart does not have a dragon.
Nah, William Wallace is essentially a dragon.
He's a man dragon. But, no, like, overtones of that, where it's, like, this, like, weird, you're, like, recovering these relics and using them as a, fucking interesting way.
Yeah.
But, so I would have been fine if, like, Ty joins the group as the plucky human or something like that.
Gunfighter,
and like
technologist.
His thing is, like, guns. And his thing is, like, I've been studying and, like, collecting artifacts forever. Oh, you're going to this place? It's really dangerous. I couldn't let you go alone. Ting! And, like, shows up and, like, knows shit. And there's just, like, signs. And he's like, no, that means this. How do you know that? Trust me. And it says, like, subway exit only or some weird shit.
That could be cool.
That would be dope as fuck.
That ain't gonna happen.
None of that happened.
No.
Like, the difference between my dumb shit that I made up after I'm brushing my teeth after I'm done watching it versus what they actually showed me, like, if that gets too great, I just fill with like, anger. Not that I think I'm super good. That's the whole thing. I don't think I'm, like, good at it. I'm just taking these basic elements and being like, well, why would you do that? Oh.
Yeah, it's not that I'm good at it, but I'm better than them.
which is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Because I have no time for this shit, and I'm just like, oh well.
It was certainly obvious from, like, almost the beginning that like, okay, they have some sort of an arrangement where they're giving up sacrifices.
Yes.
And that seemed obvious. She definitely seems worthy to keep, and they're like, all right, we'll give somebody else away. Didn't seem to know how many you had to give away, because until they caught her friends, they would have had just one, and then they happened to catch the King of the Rovers, and then the other two, like...
Yeah, why tie up so many of them?
Yeah, if you only have to give away one, couldn't you survive a couple more days or weeks, or however often this has to happen?
And even if you plan to feed them all to them, this is just like, I'm paid up for the month. This is dope. I'm just gonna leave them under the, locked under the thing.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Unless you need them to have an epic... That's the whole thing. Whenever anything is like, why is that happening? Because we need this to happen.
Well, the best why is that happening is, all right, we've tied you up. Enjoy the rest of your life. 10 seconds, let me throw your sword at your feet. Because that, I'm like, why would you do that?
It hurts so much. I may have written that down, I'm not sure.
It doesn't make any sense. Because A, it's like, all right, here's a thing that maybe you could get your foot around and untie yourself. Or, why give them your sword anyway? It's valuable. The trolls are going to take it.
Or, like, you're an elf, and, like, people have magic in this world. Maybe you have some sort of weird fucking thing where, like, the like, hilt of the sword is, like, the roots of the magic tree, and you can, like, make it go into your hand or something like that.
Well, I don't think anyone believes
Anything's
in magic
possible.
anymore.
I guess
So I don't think
not.
they're afraid of that.
Fuck that shit.
But what I called last episode with the dice happened, where they swapped the dice for the stones in a trickery maneuver.
Oh, yeah. Did you call this exactly? What did you call it?
I
Something like that? They
said,
should be
I
swapping
guarantee
things?
they're going to do a thing where
Yeah.
someone asks for the stones and they give them the dice and they don't notice till too late. And then
There you go.
that almost exactly happened.
Yeah. The minute he like tightens it around his like thing, in my head immediately I'm like, it's the dice in there. Oh my god, it's great, something like that. And then they like confirm it like 17 seconds later when he's like, Cephalo stole them, but it's fine. And she's like, what? With her fucking face always like, what? And all that stuff.
No, because she says the pouch in your neck, it's not there. He stole it. Like, didn't say the stone specifically.
Yeah, no, he says like Cephalo stole it. Now fucking put on your costume. It's this great thing. They come out with these dope hats on.
Yes.
The dope hats were the highlight of the episode.
And I was like, oh man, they need the hats to hide their ears. And I'm like, they have long hair. They could just hide their ears.
Both
normally.
have long hair and have literally hidden their ears before using their hair, which is fine.
I don't get why he doesn't keep the stones in his glove. He has like these tight, kind of awesome gloves
So
on,
just always
where he has
ready
to
to
have them anyway. I'd be like, do that, cinch the glove. All right, they're in there. Well, I have a little less of a grip. Yeah, but I could always kill whenever I have to.
Always have the power to kill.
Yeah.
Sure.
And like they melt to your hand anyway, so even once it breaks through the front of the glove, they'll still be there.
When he was like pulling them off of his hand, I thought he might try to pull it off and have it be stuck there and go, oh fuck, and just have them like on his hand from that point on.
That would be cool too.
That. But no, he just kept pulling. It was kind of gross. Not gross enough though.
What would be gross enough?
If it was just like, oh, his whole like all the bones in his arms that are coming out through the hole.
Yeah, that would
No,
be
I
gross
don't.
enough.
It's fucking. So, like you're saying, like they get the hint that like things are not what they seem, and there's trouble in paradise. No, utopia.
Yeah.
Oh god, I hate this show. I like this episode so much, and I hate this.
What's the guy, the leader of Utopia's name again?
Ty.
So Ty is kind of like a Sean Hunter from Boy Meets World, Amish and grown up.
Sure.
Looks exactly like what that guy would be.
Yeah.
What is that guy's name? Like Ryder Strong.
With a sprinkling of dirtbag.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
I'm like,
a little
where I'm
taste.
like, why would you trust this guy? Because his eyes sparkle.
Yeah, that's why.
That's why. That's all I needed this whole time.
I thought it was another one of those like, why would you write this? Is like, we don't have time to eat or break. We have to get her. Let's just make love real quick.
Oh, the
That
love scene.
legitimately happens. It goes from one to the other. There's no pause. It's, we have no time. We have to save her. How could you think of resting? We have to rest and we have to
No.
eat. No, we can't. How about we do it?
Oh, it was like, you said yourself we can't let our feelings get in the way. Oh, yeah, feelings. And then suddenly goes into that shit, and I was like, what? It was great.
Oh, God.
It was great.
Cue the Barry White.
Fucking
terrible.
smashing? What did
I
write down?
hate that shit.
Yeah.
Especially where it's like you're in the middle of the woods where your enemies are like you just saw a trap. Then like they had just seen the trap. Yeah. So like
The
know
trap just
it's a
fell on them.
booby trapped
It's
woods.
troll country.
You're potentially like being like chased by elf hunters. Still could be after you.
Yep.
You're in an unfamiliar zone. There are trolls. Right now, defenseless sex sounds good.
Defenseless sex. I want to smell like sex and go into troll country. It's always been a dream of mine. No, it's crazy.
That is on my bucket
It's
list. It's strange you
actually
say that.
crazy. That's the last thing on the bucket list. No, I know. I've never been in one of these situations. I don't know if getting freaky is high on your list, and you might be like, "Well, I'm gonna die. I might as well do this." Or
The
whatever.
whole world ends
would
if you don't complete your mission.
agree.
You should never be defenseless. You should never not have a weapon in your hand. You're literally Earth's last hope.
You probably shouldn't take your shirt off, honestly.
Probably not.
Probably shouldn't even take your shirt
You
off.
should probably have some armor.
So that whole thing was I thought it was really weird too, and that's one of the many things that this episode, right?
Uh-huh.
Like they've been teasing us, right? Last time we got the school. Before that, we got a few other things, these like artifacts or whatever, right? The whole point of like your show is like we got elves and shit, we got fucking magic or whatever, we got humans, we got monsters or whatever the fuck, we got like demons. It's great, but it's really in the future though, right? That's like the whole point
Yeah.
of like your whole fucking show, right? And you finally go to a place where there's people who are like, oh no, humans are actually dope, and I found all this dope human shit, and I like collect it, and we have a weird thing going on, right? So like I feel like that's enough to devote the whole episode to that.
Yes.
But they kept cutting to all this dumb shit
No.
Like, let's talk real quick about the like Uncle King subplot or whatever.
Sure.
Which is literally, I think it's literally 2 scenes. They might have cheated one
Yeah.
quick scene before or after one of them, but it's literally, I'm drunk. I don't actually want to be king, which I don't feel like is in character for him at all. And Al-Anon's like, bitch, and then it cuts later to like, I'm gonna be king. I do not want to give you the crown. I'm gonna be king now, whatever. And that's the whole thing. And like, that's how long that should take later or something, or just leave it out. Like, if someone, okay, this is hard. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If someone's going to go from, like, oh, hey, well, now you're the heir, right? And then, like, you want to do a thing where it's like, well, I don't want to be king, though. And then later he becomes king or something like that. You can't, within the same episode, show him, like, I don't want to be king, and then saying, you know what, I do want to be king. Right? Because then there's no
progression.
There's no point in doing that. You didn't actually go anywhere. You're just back where you started. And what did you give the audience? Like 14 minutes of like, oh no, is he not going to be king? I guess that bothers me, right? If you wanted to set this up, have him do that, right? And then next episode have him like want to be king or something like that. Make me like worried or make me wonder what's going on back at home. Al-Anon's training Bandon, but then Uncle King doesn't want to be king. He wants the old person that has no lines to be king. Who? The guy we talked about. Remember that chump? I don't know. Like this
of course,
whole
that guy.
Characters you have no idea about. I'm like, this is horrible. And you're wasting time. We could be talking about fidget spinners and like music boxes and what song is that, but like the audience knows what the song is, but like they don't, and they're like think it's something else.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, there's so much dumb shit you could do, and now they've left the village. They're just gone already.
And the village is presumably gone forever now because
overrun by trolls.
Yeah,
and, like,
they have no defenses.
All of humanity's precious history was smashed again. They've put it all in like one place, so demons and/or trolls could just destroy it.
I love that they have lights. I love that they're watching Star Trek. I love that they think Spock is an elf.
That was the greatest thing.
Great.
So
they think that's also like history records.
Stop right there, because I put a star next to that.
Sure.
Because I thought you might ask me, what's your favorite moment from this episode? Which you never ask me when I have one. I think you see the star.
I see the star.
I think you say,
know.
we're not going to do this anymore, so now I'm just going to fucking stars everywhere, all over the place, just in case this happens again. So I feel like that moment, it was, that's the reason this whole show, and I assume book series exists, is like that type of fucking shit. Is like, they think Spock's an elf, they think this is like historical footage. We used to go to the stars, which is like kind of true. He says that earlier, and you're like, yeah, we like fucking send satellites or whatever, if you believe the government that they're satellites, or whatever the fuck. So I'm like, that's kind of true. And then yes, it's fucking Star Trek. They paid for this little fucking drop scene of like Star Trek, and it reminded me of in Reign of Fire when they're doing like the Star Wars thing, right? Where they're fucking like just like saying the lines. See Reign of Fire. It's totally worth seeing. It's relatively it's mercifully short. It's a good movie. But that fucking finding the like fictional history and making it real. Spock's the perfect thing when your world has elves in it and the humans hate the elves and all that stuff. When he says boo and he goes fucking elf, I was like, oh my god, it's all been worth it this whole time. Everything. We're finally here. We've peaked.
If they would have found Lord of the Rings, they could have been like, there was a time when we were together.
I know, yeah. Lord of the, what's his name? Wanted too much money.
Peter Jackson?
Peter Jackson.
I'm like, I was like, does he mean the elf? Do you mean Legolas?
I'm like King Kong, Jack Black, that movie with the puppets, funny accent.
Meet the Feebles?
Meet the Feebles.
New Zealand?
Huh? Okay.
All right, so this episode had a lot of potential, and they squandered almost all of it.
That's what I'm getting at. That's my topic sentence.
I also, and this is not even just when you're in a post-apocalyptic future where you can't just make bullets easily. I always think when there's any difficulty in getting ammunition, practicing is like the worst thing ever. Especially like letting anyone else practice. If you have a limited amount of bullets and you've touched a gun at all, one person should become a crack shot.
Yes.
By giving someone else the opportunity to train, you're wasting bullets that we don't even know how they had. They may have only had like 20.
He says like if I had more of you, they wouldn't stand a chance or something like that.
Yeah.
But we don't know how many. Fucking, it's horrible.
He said a handful, didn't he?
I think so. Bought a handful of them from a dude, traded a whole harvest of corn, worth every kernel. Oh my god. He would be this like wisecracking dude and shooting, and then like he'd lose his gun and run out of ammo. He'd be like, I can't do anything. I just fucking talk and shoot. I'm sorry.
I have a taser.
It'd be great.
And they had electricity. Like,
I know.
That was very cool. Could have been awesome. It showed you the true potential of humanity, like, again.
Well, his fucking thing, where it's like, we've been taught that humans were warmongers, bent on destroying the earth, but it's not true. We were actually, what does he fucking say? Like, poets and whatever the fuck, all this other shit. I didn't write that down.
Poets, inventors. I don't know.
We went to the stars. We made poetry. I don't know what poets do.
Whatever. But it was a cool concept. It could have been really good. They smashed that. I'm sure you'll find out in the next episode, if they even bother talking about it ever again, that the trolls have ransacked the village. It's burned to the ground.
It just seems like such a wasted opportunity. I'm not sure why this would be like this. Maybe there's going to be more stuff like that? It's just like a teaser?
A little crazy was they were watching Star Trek on a fucking, like, reel-to-reel projector.
They found
and I'm like, that of all things is what survived?
Right, they found a 35mm cut of an episode of Star Trek.
Because that wouldn't even be something that's obvious to know how to use. I feel like you give a kid that now, and they're like, I don't know how to do this. But let alone film literally degrades.
No, I know. And, like, even if it's in a canister, I feel like it's like, totally not going to last thousands of years.
Not 3,000 for sure.
That's crazy, right?
I think we find things that are a couple hundred years old. You're like, oh, they're frayed at the edges.
It was in the warehouse too long.
Yeah.
So also, speaking of writing or whatever the fuck, this fucking Eritrea bullshit heel turn of like, well, maybe I'll be here with my own kind and all that shit after like a 2-second conversation with the fucking sharpshooter.
No, that's bad writing.
I hate that so
All the
much.
bad things in this are writing based. I also like they give her like anesthesia, and I'm like, how much of that do they have? Like,
and antibiotics, I assume, yeah.
They knocked her out, though, with gas.
Which was unnecessary.
I was like, what the hell? And then she wakes up to be on intravenous, and I'm like, where are you getting this stuff?
I know.
That doesn't have a shelf life or go bad?
And if you really wanted to only feed her to trolls and you hadn't decided yet, you wouldn't have given her antibiotics, or maybe they say that she's useless if she dies.
Well, yeah, they don't want her dead. They want to kill her.
It's so bad. They're like, it's tonight, and you're just like, what? Like, you should have had like kids, in the village, like doing something, and she's like, what do you mean, like, don't get used to that or something like that? And they just laugh and like run away, like creepy, weird things like that. The old melty face guy does some weird, like, the tree is talking through him or something like that.
Yeah.
Your body is the vessel. Your blood is the key. You must go.
Yeah, interesting. What do you think melted his face? And there's a dragon?
Okay, so I don't know. Thank you.
That is all. Good night.
Okay, I don't know what melted his face, if it was melted from like melting or melted from something else. I think the fact that it's in San Francisco is important because there's earthquakes in San Francisco. There's like a fault line, all that stuff. So there could be some weird cavernous or something.
But 3,000 years, there should have been a super volcano already. Like.
Well, yeah. Odds being, maybe that's what happened. Maybe it's lava. It can't be lava because that's too much like Mount Doom. But it's probably lava. I also have a new theory about the trolls.
Sure.
The trolls wear gas masks.
Because they can't breathe our air.
They can't breathe clean air because they're so mutated by all the toxic radiation poison and like all that shit. So like they're breathing that.
Makes sense, but also wonder, like, that's a piece of technology that I'm like, how are they getting that? What are they doing with it? Where's the thing? Because it seems like we don't have that. But I'm wondering if they are actually a closer link to humanity than we think.
Yeah.
Because like maybe they never left those areas and stuff. Because you saw at the very end when they're going to the area, like there's parts of San Francisco still alive. Like
you see the bridge.
You see a bridge.
The motherfucking bridge.
Yeah. There's like buildings, like bits of skyscrapers.
Yeah.
Things that I'm like, how does everyone not know about these things? Or is it just because it's troll territory? We don't go there at all.
Yeah, so it's it's like troll territory because it's at the epicenter of whatever event it was. It's all contaminated or something like that, and they can live there. So we're probably going to go somewhere where they can live without their gas mask and see them. I feel like they're going to look weird. Definitely, right? They're going to look
probably
maybe not like the gnomes though. They probably look too much like the gnomes for me to be happy with it. But
we'll see. I would like it if they had like big ogre-y like teeth coming out of their mouths, like bottom giant teeth or something.
Because something has to explain why they're so violent and crazy and all that stuff, which you can explain that way. But then they shouldn't just look like dudes or like dudes with weird lips or something like that. Like the ogres are just like stringy hair. They look mutated. I like my theory. I'm keeping the theory going. It's good times.
Is there anything else you want to talk about in this episode?
I wrote down San Francisco fault, melty face man, aftermath.
The melty face man.
So who's dead? I think we already touched on. I think Ty is probably not dead because he had so many lines.
We'll assume he could be alive and potentially come by. Since we lost Mr. Rover, we need someone else to pop up randomly and help him out.
So he got shot as fuck, and they showed you his dead face. So
he's most likely
do think
dead.
He's dead, yeah.
But they do have surgery.
There's a medical facility right there. I don't know if there's necessarily a doctor.
I don't think there's enough of them to even fight off the amount of trolls that came in, though. So, like,
'Cause
by
they,
nature
like,
of life, he should be dead.
They kept moving or whatever.
Yeah, his shitty diversion, while it did work, so I can't say it was the worst diversion ever.
Yeah.
It's just, it was so shitty, it makes me so angry.
No, you're absolutely right. And I had all the same thoughts. I don't know if I made that clear. But yes, people do that 100% of the time. I'll hold them off. And it's
And
like...
they run at him and
you're
die.
and you're like, no, and like, don't, or whatever. And then you're like looking and you're like, it took more time for you to argue about. You could have just kept running and you would be farther than if you had done any of this stuff. Like that happens all the time. And I feel like it's so easy and so subtle to just make it so that they can still see or they hear him scream or whatever. And then the person's like, oh, and it's like, no, come on, let's go. And like you just do something, right?
I'd like to do a thing where it's like, I'll hold him off. And he just like throws a rock and starts to run. It's like, what? That was it. Run!
I'm not dying for you, bitch. Just keeps running.
Yeah.
Cephalo, speaking of which, I really would have liked if he was... So he's in that trap, right? Speaking of like writing or whatever the fuck. Once they're like, okay, you can come with us, but I swear, if you pull any of your shit or whatever, I want him to like smile and like pull a like thing out and like move the door himself and be like oh, sorry, fuck off, or whatever. But then it wasn't, and they used that as a way for her to use her like dad's sword to just like easily smash open like a huge lock or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, that doesn't make any sense either. Is it sword magic or you magic?
Well,
you've been borderline inept this whole time.
I actually like cringed at that moment because I was like, did you ever like, with the proper tool go to do something and the tool chips or breaks or something? And I was like, oh God, what if it just would have put a huge knock in her sword or the sword just shattered?
I know.
Like, you don't know what what that kind of locks are made of?
Yeah. No, like, I had that thought, too, and that's what motivated me to think, is it a magic sword? Is she magic? Like, what's going on here? Is that normal? It, like, made a bunch of sparks, but I guess because it's metal? I don't know what's going on here. Is this normal? Is this thing on? Are we in Crazy Town?
Fine elven steel.
But I really, because, like, the way that he, like, pops out of it once she does open the door, I'm like, oh, that was perfect, only it should have been that he was like, all right, and like knocks the I could have gone out at any time, and I am still this manipulative person, right? It would have been this great through line
that would have been better,
where he steals the stones and then he does the things, and at the very end, his like redemption moment or like whatever. Do you think he really bought her, or like she's his daughter? He says, "You're the best thing I ever did."
Well, that could still count for buying her.
It could still count for buying her, but I kind of wanted him to be.
I don't think that it matters that he bought her or not because he's still her father.
I think he should have said something about being her father before he died. I think there should have been some reference to that. He said, "You're the best thing I ever did," or whatever, however he words it. But I really wanted like a little more. If you're gonna do the thing, like the main redemption thing. Does he say like, "I'm proud of you"? He says, "Go save the world."
Yeah, he says, "Go save the world."
I guess that's enough. I wanted a little more there. If you're gonna do that,
well, you're probably not getting it.
Oh, I'm not getting what I want. I know that, and that's like a picky thing. But I feel like a lot of this was like devoted to his whole thing, and then then his death. You've had this character in like half. He's going to be in like half the show, like once we're done with the season, right? Pops up
probably.
And stuff, threatens people, bad guy, fair weather, good guy.
Like 5 to 7
cuts
episodes,
the things, right? It's the whole fucking thing, and this was your big moment, right? Let's really.
Yep. Solidified with 2 shots that missed and dying.
Let's chew the scenery here, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunate.
I thought to humans, to us, was really dumb. Because I don't know what that means, or who talks like that.
I always think it's dumb in movies when there's like a dance party, when you live in like the shittiest thing ever. Like when they dance in the Matrix, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I know.
You should not be doing this ever.
This reminded me of that, because the guy puts like the record on and goes,
yeah,
and you're like, oh, what like amazing old timey like weird choice that makes no sense.
And
like
new music.
I was like, well, new music's okay too, right?
And now things are coming out on record again, so it all works.
It all works, right? But like, it should be something that like doesn't make sense or makes you laugh or makes you go like, oh, these people don't understand.
Well, no, they had you covered. Things that
whatever.
Don't make sense, like using a projector and a record as things that would last the longest.
You know what I'm saying?
I do, and I laugh.
So, like, when, like, in Futurama they have, like, he's listening to Baby Got Back, and she's like,
yeah.
You can't just lock yourself in your room listening to classical music all day, right? That, like, weird perspective where, like, this is not dance party music at all, but they're like, oh, like, to us, because we have 3 records, this is the most dancingest banger we have, or something like that. We've, like, almost never heard music. Someone smacks something over there, and, like, there's barely any instruments here. Oh, it's amazing.
Just Smash Mouth all the time.
It's just, hey, now, you're in all stuff. It's the whole thing. That guy comes out in the YouTube, dude.
Oh, I would hope.
But yeah, it's like generic dance music, and it reminded me of the Matrix scene. That's why I'm so glad you said that, because it was not because of how dumb it is, but like literally, like this weird. We're gonna take a few minutes here and put on a slow jam and do some techno dancing. Like it was like electronica. It was like the weirdest like thing.
No, it
to
feels
have in the
odd, and it's like a waste if you have minimal electricity.
show. And so many speakers.
Well, that I feel like just in this world, like even lighting fires is a risk because people will see you from a distance and want to kill you. So like while it's quiet in the middle of the night, blasting music, that's probably smart. And all of you, well, it's, it makes sense because all of them are lookouts. Oh no, they're all unarmed and dancing. Yeah, that makes sense.
What are you gonna do? Yeah. The guns too. I had the same thought. Cause, like,
and people can just walk in and they say, "Join us, take clothing."
You're not registered. You don't have a thing. We all have a bracelet that proves that we're part of the settlement. Because people come in to trade all the time, and they could just pull that shit if they know about party night, or whatever the fuck. Oh, I know. That was crazy. But when she says to humans, to us, and then takes off her hat, and she has made the like bold decision to put her hair behind her ear under her hat. Where I'm like, why would you do that? That's crazy.
Oh God, her hair should be tied like under her chin.
You should look like Cousin It. You should just have the hair going as forward as possible. Oh my God, we hate this show. This is great. This is
I just hate things that are bad. The show is fine. It's the writing that's like brutal, like
weirdly bad.
And they make choices where like, hey, this episode everything will be bad.
Hey, you know what we're doing next week? What? Everything will be bad. Fuck yeah.
But by nature of how this worked, next week has to be better.
By virtue of like whatever the fuck.
Yeah, it has to be better. And we'll see you next week where things will be better.
One more thing.
One more thing.
Lest we forget about things that happen on the show.
Sure.
So Al-Anon is training.
Yeah. So he is the new druid.
Well, but I'm glad you said that exact word because that's what I wrote down. He's not like a druid. He's the next druid.
Yeah, there can only be one. He's like the Highlander.
There can be only one, and he's literally, So like now, even though we only met that character for 30 seconds, the torch has been passed from like his old dead, master to him, and he's gonna train that guy or whatever the fuck. So they're bonding and training and doing all that stuff. You find out that Al-Anon's arm is all burned from when Bandon grabbed it and like transferred the demon's power through to like try to corrupt them and all that stuff. So some shit's happening.
Who did that? You.
You did. Like when when we're watching something and like you say the line before the person says it or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, you, like his full fucking stupid accent or whatever, and he's like, ew. Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're hoping for better things next week, and we'll see that together. Until then, don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next week.